Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I'm so glad you came to the show, and I look forward to sharing some real estate experience with you and teaching you some things that will help you in your real estate investing. So thank you, everyone, for coming. Please put your name and where you're hanging out from in the chat so we can see where everyone's coming from. And I'm going to throw up a poll here. So if you could answer a couple questions in the poll, that would be great. So the chat's live anytime you want to put that in. And I'm going to start the poll. That way you can tell us what kind of real estate you've done before. If you have 1 to 3 wholesales or rentals or flips, or if you've done more than 3, or if you're just getting started and you've done no so far. So go ahead and fill out the poll. I'd be happy to see where everyone's starting from, because then I can gauge my training to help you guys, because that's what I want to do. So tonight I have a really special show for you. I have a great slideshow, and we're going to jump right in to that as soon as people start filling out the poll. And I'm going to talk to you tonight about 9 ways to find cash to buy rental properties. So a few weeks ago, I started in an overview on how to buy a rental property in 4 simple steps. And then I talked about how to find the deals in the next segment. So tonight I'm going to jump in with step 2, how to find the money to buy those deals. So that's what we're going to do right now. I'm going to go ahead and screen share, and you're going to see a slideshow for most of the show tonight. So go ahead and get ready for that. Here's the slideshow. Let me get back to my last, I got to get back to the first slide here. There we go, slide 1. Let's start with slide 1. Screen share. All right, so I'm going to talk to you tonight about the 9 ways to find cash for your deals. In these 2 pictures, I just gave an example of one of the first rental properties that I bought as an investor. I had several rental properties prior to this one, but this is the one I bought thinking of myself as a full-time investor. The one on the right is a house, and within a year after that, I had bought this apartment building on the left. So let's go to the next slide. All right, so let's start the story here. I was laid off in 2003. I was working for the biotech industry, and I had a really good job. I'd spent many, many years getting all my degrees, and I have a PhD in biology. So I was laid off in 2003. At that time, I already had accumulated 3 rentals, and I'd been a landlord since 1989. But when I got laid off, I had a big mortgage and 6-month-old twins. And besides that, I also had an au pair visiting me from a foreign country. So I had to keep paying her as well, because she was helping me with the twins. So let's go back and find out what those rentals look like. I had a Hawaii condo, which was a rental. And on the left is what it looked like the whole time I rented it out. And on the right is what I did to it before I sold it. So I painted up the dark kitchen, put in new tile countertops, new sink, new plumbing, new stove, new fridge, just did everything new there. I already had tile on the floor, because that makes a great, easy rental. If you have tile on the floor and you just sweep it out for the next person, and you don't have to wait to get a carpet cleaned. I often would put people into this condo the day after the previous tenants moved out, with no downtime at all. And that wasn't on the first of the month. That could be any time in the middle of the month. These rentals were so popular that I was able to put someone in right away. As you'll see, some of these rentals were spread out all over the country, but that's just where I happen to live. So the other one I had was a New Jersey rental. When I sold this one, I put paint and carpet in it. I don't seem to have too many pictures of the inside because I wasn't around when it was done. That was handled by my property management. And here's the third rental. This is a rental that we still own in San Diego. When we rented it out, we put in the tile in the bathroom. And this was the first time I ever laid tile myself. If you've never done it, it's kind of a good experience to find out what they need to do it right. And as you'll notice, there's a hole cut in the floor, and that's where the toilet belongs. If you ever see someone tiling your bathroom and the toilet's still in the bathroom, they're doing it wrong. Okay, they're tiling around the toilet without taking it out. Next time you have to replace the toilet, it won't fit exactly in the same location, in the same shape as the toilet you have, so you're going to have a problem. So unless you see the toilet out for about 3 days while all this grout is drying, the person's doing a bad job. Ask me how I know that. That's happened to me before. So this was the tile that we put in. That was my first bathroom that I ever tiled. And we also put in hardwood floors. This condo's in a really nice area, and it makes it really easy for us to clean when tenants move out. Just beautiful hardwood floors throughout the rental. So those were the 3 rentals that I had at the time that I got laid off. And I decided to pursue my real estate education at that point. So for about 2 years, I went to as many seminars and webinars and listened to as many speakers as I could. I bought courses online, and I studied as much as I could. I read books. At the end of those 3 years, I owned 60 units of property, just like this little Smurf house over here. I owned 60 of those units, and I had 60 people paying me rent every month, or at least they were supposed to pay me rent every month. So that was the rapid expansion of my real estate holdings. So I'm going to go into tonight how to buy rental properties, and I did an overview a few weeks ago, steps 1 through 4. And so in this series, we're focusing on being a landlord. So if you see in this real estate investor matrix that I have over there, you get a copy of this when you sign up for my webinars, and it comes right in your registration email. You'll see that the landlord, and I don't know if you can see my mouse right there, but I'm circling landlord. The landlord needs cash, credit, and skills. Maybe a little bit of time, but they need more cash, credit, and skills than some of the other types of investors. So we're focusing on the landlord in this series. He needs a little bit less time than a flipper or a wholesaler does. They need a lot more time to do their skill. So I'm going to review step 1 before we move into step 2. So step 1 is to find the property. So you're going to call some real estate agents and walk through as many deals as you can. You want to find a place that needs some work and is not the best house on the street. And this is a picture of me with some of my students when we were out doing REO tours. When there were a lot of REOs on the market, we would rent vans on the weekend and go out and look at tons of these houses so you get a feel for what they really look like. So the first place to look is call some agents, and make sure you find an agent that's familiar with investing so that they will they know what you're looking for. Okay, also review of step 1. You can also call wholesalers and get on their mailing list because they're finding houses that need a lot of work. So if you see these signs, we buy houses, call them and get on the list. They're also advertising on Craigslist, so it's a good way to find wholesalers. Look on Craigslist and find out what they're doing. And the last part of step 1 is you have to make offers. This is also the finding stage. When people are first starting out, I suggest that you buy them in your name or a land trust. You don't need to find an entity right away. It's just going to cost you extra money. So get a few deals under your belt. Make some money first before you set up an LLC or an S Corp. It doesn't cost too much money in other states. It certainly costs a lot in California, and the accounting is going to cost you some money as well. So at least get a deal going in a land trust, which is really just, 4 pieces of paper that you did on your computer in a Word document. All right, let's jump into step 2, which is the topic of today's seminar, today's hangout. So in step 2, I'm going to go through 9 steps, 9 ways to fund your deal. So the first one, which we're just going to get out of the way right away, is conventional mortgages. Now, everyone knows that those have great low interest rates right now. In order for you to get a good one, you're going to need to do some repair for your credit unless you have perfect credit already. If you already own your own home, that's really helpful because you already had good credit to get into that. So you're going to repair or use your credit to pre-qualify for a mortgage. The second thing you can do is get a Home Depot credit card. Your score has to be in the 600s in order to qualify for that. So go ahead and get your Home Depot credit card. A Lowe's credit card takes a little bit more, a higher score to qualify. So start with Home Depot, and you can always increase the amount of money that's on the card when you want to do that. All right, so let's go ahead and go to this next way that you can find money. And so what I've done in this slideshow is I've given you examples of properties that I've used in every single one of these steps. So the second way is to use seller financing or buy the property subject to. In this way, you're depending upon the seller to help you out with financing the deal. So the first way you can do it, and I did that with this red house here and a number of other houses on that street, is the seller holds a note. So if you don't have the down payment, the seller contributes the down payment as a note, and you go ahead and get a loan that goes with that. With a subject to, which I'll go over in part B, you basically just keep paying the seller's mortgage. You can buy it in a trust or an LLC, or you can just buy it and keep paying the mortgage. You can notify the bank if you want. Sometimes you can just keep paying that note. We just notified the bank, and as long as the money was coming in, they were happy. So that house in the bottom picture there is something we just bought this year. It's letting you know that it's still possible to buy things subject to. We bought it in 2014, fixed it up, and sold it in March 2015. And during that time, we kept paying the previous owner's note. The thing that's interesting about this house is that house, the seller had actually died. So the person making the agreement with us, it wasn't even their credit, and it was the credit of a deceased person. So it was someone in the family who just wanted to make sure that the house got sold. And they were, they were the executor of the estate, and they were very, very willing to sell that property subject to the existing mortgage. So all we had to do was go to escrow with the down payment, and we were good to go. So that is the second way to finance your deal. So when people start out and they come to me and they say, Janice, I don't really have any money. I don't have good credit. Here's a way where your credit is really not crucial at all. And actually you're using the credit of the seller who's, if they're alive, they're going to be getting more payments on time. So it's really good for their credit. All right, so let's move on to the third way. The third way to find cash for your deal is do a 1031 exchange. And I'm going to show you 2 of those exchanges that I did. You basically sell another rental, and the money from the first rental goes into the second rental as a 1031 exchange. You can also do this as a reverse 1031 exchange, where you buy the other property first and then sell the rental property. This costs a little bit more money because the company doing the 1031 exchange is the one who's actually putting up the money for the first purchase, because you haven't gotten your cash out of, the rental property that you sold. So in this case, I sold my rental in New Jersey. This townhouse, I had held this property, let's see, for a little over 10 years, no, like 13 years when I sold it. So I had a lot of equity in the property, and I sold this one townhouse in exchange for a 6-unit apartment building, which I still own in Salt Lake City. So this is the 6-unit that you see here in the lower picture. So that's the first way. So let me give you another example of a 1031 that I did. This was my Honolulu condo. So once I fixed it up and sold it, I had paid off the 20-year mortgage. I owned it free and clear. It had gone through 2 big real estate cycles. The first one, I just didn't do anything with it the first time. I just kept renting it out. And the second time, when it was at the peak of the market, I sold this 520 square foot condo, used it as the down payment on this apartment building. And this was a 27-unit apartment building in the capital of Michigan, Lansing. So I exchanged a completely free and clear condo for the down payment on this particular 27-unit property. So that was a really big step up in doing the 1031 exchange. So those are just 2 examples on what you can do. Number 4, the fourth way to fund the deal is to use credit card checks. So some of you have these and some of you don't. I just want to let you know that you can use a credit card check or an advance to buy a property. I was able to buy this one with 2 credit card checks. You do have to season the money usually. So I wrote the check, put it in my account, let the money sit there for 30 days. They may have changed the rules right now, depends on the escrow. So once the money was there for 30 to 60 days, I had the cash to buy this property. And most of these credit card checks, as you know, have like a 0% interest for the first 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, whatever their deal is. So I didn't pay any interest on the money. And by the time we rehabbed the property and I refinanced it into a conventional mortgage, kept it as a rental. In fact, I still own this property as well. But that's how I financed the property. I bought it with 2 paper checks that I wrote. It was only $35,000 when I bought it. So, you have to find a cheap house if you're going to do that, or you have to have a huge amount of credit. All right. So way number 5 to finance your properties is to refinance an existing property or take a home equity line of credit out on the existing property. I would say that all 3 of these houses that were new construction are houses that I used with this particular method. So I did a refinance on one of the rental properties that I already owned, that I've showed you already. And on the other one, I took out a home equity line of credit. And I used that money as the down payment to buy these 3 properties, because these properties were all brand new construction. So there was very good financing that was coming along with the builder. The builder had, gotten financing pre-approved for these. So I was able to get good financing, and I just had to come up with the down payment. All 3 of these houses were in Utah. The top one and the bottom one were the same developer, and the middle one was a different developer. I'm showing you that middle one after I did the landscaping. So when I bought it, it didn't have landscaping, and I had to add the landscaping in. I would definitely tell you that the top one and the bottom one were cheaper to landscape because they were on a flat lot. The one in the middle cost a lot more. So look at the shape of your lot, and also whether it's flat or not. Because if it's not flat, you're going to do a lot of contouring, and retaining walls and rock like we had to do. So that cost a lot more. All right, so you're tapping into the equity you have in existing property, even if it's your home or a rental property, in order to do that. So step number 6 is to find partners and do JV agreements. And if you were on our seminar 2 weeks ago, I interviewed Jay Sherman, and he talked for the whole hour about JV agreements. So go back to my channel on YouTube, Wise Wealth University, and listen to that seminar that I did with Jay, the interview on joint venture agreements, because he really lays out the details that you can do with these joint venture agreements. So basically, you're going to look for a partner who probably has the cash and really doesn't have any time and might have experience, but they don't have experience in the market you're working in. So this is one of the properties that I bought in Detroit. I had a partner who was from San Diego in on this house with me, and we had an agreement about, the split of profits and everything. They didn't have experience in the Detroit market, but they had some cash. So we got good cash flow on this house for a while. It just didn't improve in value, unfortunately. So when we sold it, there wasn't much profit to split, but we did have good cash flow during that time. So that's another way to do it. Find some partners, do some joint venture agreements. Okay, the 7th way to find cash for your deal is wholesale a few for cash. Now, you don't have to be an experienced wholesaler to do this. You either need to find the house by looking on Craigslist, doing mailings, which I've talked about in my previous trainings, or calling other wholesalers, and also you can do door knocking. So you want to find the house, or you can do the other end of the deal, which is you find the buyer. Contact some wholesalers who have properties and go find the buyer out of your contacts with other real estate investors, and find a house for them and wholesale a few of those. Split the wholesale profit with the wholesaler in order to do that deal. All right, so let's go to number 8. Number 8 is hard money. I don't want to go into too many details about hard money except to convince you not to do it. You might do it for your first property. I did 2 houses in Detroit with hard money when I first got started. It cost me 15% interest and 5 points. On top of the 5 points, there were fees, and more fees. Let me give you a few details about what the fees were. Sorry about the phone there. So the fees were, it was a draw inspection fee. So whenever we had to ask for money to do the work on the rehab, we had to have someone from the lender come to the house and inspect what we'd already done, and then they charged us a fee for that. There were funding fees. So on the mortgage, and when we closed, we'd already paid a fee to be funded, so a funding fee. And then there was a contractor who came and did the draw inspection, and we had to pay an administrative fee for that contractor. Then when we did the loan, there was what was called a processing fee, which you would have with a normal loan. So they charged that as well. And they also had an underwriting fee to underwrite the loan, even though they were the one who was doing the loan. So a draw inspection fee, a funding fee, a contractor fee, a processing fee, underwriting fees. It probably cost us about $8,000 in fees just to do this particular deal. So please, please, please do hard money if you can, but as soon as you can get past that and get a deal done, move into number 9, which is the one I'm going to talk about with you next. Because what happens is when you do hard money, most of the profit gets taken out by the hard money lender, and you're not really the one making money on the deal. So what you really need to do is find private lenders and equity partners to fund your deals. So when you have a private lender, you can purchase any property in any situation and for virtually any amount of money. Now, I don't want you to buy too expensive of a house, but if the deal works, you can find a private lender who's going to make money on that deal. So by the time you find the deal, it's really too late to develop your private money lenders. So I want you to develop your private money lenders now while you're looking for deals, because you want to have them lined up, ready to go. So when you find a deal, they're ready to fund it. Many times their money is not liquid. It's not always sitting just in cash in an account. So let me give you an example. Their money could be in an IRA. Their money could be in a HELOC, and they have to write a check and wait for that check to clear. Their money could be in a savings account, in an online account, and they've got to wire it to escrow. But the only way to get it out of that online account is to send it to their own savings account and then do the wire, because the online account they have doesn't allow wires. So there's many, many different places where these people can have their cash. Make sure they're lined up and ready to go, and they don't think that you need the money very quickly because you don't know what you're doing. So you want to have those people lined up and ready to go. So this is a smaller picture. Let me go to the next picture where I blew up that. All right. So in order to learn about private lenders, what I'd like you to do is go get my free ebook on finding private lenders. And it's at wisewealthuniversity.com/PV lending. So what you need to be doing is telling everyone what you do, that you invest in real estate and you're looking for private lenders. If you get the book walks you through the steps to use the context you have to find private lenders. So let me give you an example. Say you have 50 contacts in your phone, and each one of the people in your phone has 50 contacts in their phone. That's 2,500 people. So when you talk to people as potential private lenders, you're not only talking to them, you're talking to them and to find out if they have or know other people who might be interested, because you're giving them an opportunity to invest at, for example, 10% that they can't get anywhere else in this market. They can't get it in the stock market. They can't get it in a CD. And it's also backed by real estate, which the stock market is not. So when you find people who might be interested, what you want to talk to them about is the pain in the big picture. Their pain is that they're not getting a good interest rate anyplace else. Then you can set up a formal appointment with them and go over some of the details of particular examples of deals that you would like to do. And then you follow up with the deals as they start to come in. So those are the 3 steps on working with a private lender. Present the idea, make a formal appointment to talk about deals in general, and then the third is follow up with the deals as they come up from the deals that you are looking at. So I'm going to show you an example. This slide is too small on the side. I blew this up, this closing, to show you what lending looks like with a private lender. And remember, what I want you to do is to completely change your mindset, which is why you need the book, because your mindset is that you're asking for money. You need to stop that mindset. You are offering a service that's not available anywhere else, guys. Nobody can offer this to them except a real estate investor. So I want you to practice in the mirror, practice with people who don't have any money. Do you know anyone who's not getting an 8% return or a 10% return on their savings or retirement money? I want you to ask people that. Let's do that one again. Do you know anyone not getting a 10% return on their savings or retirement money? People may have the money in CDs, IRAs, or HELOCs. If it's in an IRA, they may have to move it to a self-directed IRA. A self-directed IRA will allow them to invest in real estate. So there's many different companies that do it. I'm going to compile a list for everyone and send it out to you. That's Equity Trust, UDirect IRA, Entrust, PINCO. There's quite a number of these companies. So what you need to do is go get my ebook, and it's wisewealthuniversity.com/PV lending. I will put that below this webinar. If you see it on G Plus or in Facebook, I will post the link for that. And when I redo the YouTube video, you'll see a link to that that'll pop up right in the annotations of the video. So you get an ebook, and then you get a 10-day email course prompting you to go through the steps of the ebook and encouraging you further to develop your own private lenders. So let's look at the HUD statement that I'm showing you here. This house closed in March, and in this house, right, this was one of the pictures I showed you tonight. So when we bought this house, we took it over subject to the existing loan, and at the same time, and you'll see that down below, the existing loan balance was $54,000. That's loan 2. Loan 1, I mean, that was in the first position, but in terms of paying it off in the escrow, they called loan 1 the first position. And this is a private lender, and they're using a UDirect IRA as their IRA company, and they use someone who holds the money called American Estate and Trust. So this was interest at 10%. You can see it there at 10%, and it was from October 2nd, 2014 until March 16th, 2015. I think we closed on it a few days later, but this was one of the preliminary HUD statements. So they lent $72,000 and they made $3,274.52 in their account for those 5 months. Actually, yeah, 4 months of lending on that property. So anyway, those are the 9 steps, the 9 ways to fund your property. So I'm going to just briefly go over them again. Conventional, seller financing, 1031 exchanges, credit card checks. Number 5, refinance another property or use a home equity line of credit. Find partners and do JV agreements. Wholesale a few properties for cash. Get a hard money loan or get a private money loan, which can be used for any property in any situation and for any amount. The private lender is not going to screen whether you have an issue with the house that they don't agree with or anything like that. They're interested in what you can do for them, which is to provide a great interest rate on their savings. So I'm going to jump back in right now. Let me finish up the slideshow. And that'll finish up our screenshot. I don't know if we got to the last slide there. Oh, I forgot my last slide. Let's show that one. Here's what you want to do. After you get that done, you want to rinse and repeat. Keep doing it until you accumulate the number of rentals that you want to make a good retirement income for yourself. So keep working on finding those rental properties. Our next webinar, our next hangout is going to talk to you about the 3rd step. So there's 4 steps: find, fund, fix. So we're going to talk about fixing not as a retail property. We're going to talk about how to fix something for a tenant condition property. It's not going to be the same as the way you do a property for flipping. It's not going to be quite as fancy. So I'm going to talk to you about that and let you know how to do it for the right price and the right materials that you're going to use when you do a tenant property. So I'm going to show you, I just talked to you about that ebook. So I'm going to show that ebook now while I hop back into the seminar. So if you have any questions, please post those in the chat and I'll check those just before we finish up. And even if you're watching the replay, you can post questions and those will show up. I get those as an email and I can also send you an answer to those or answer them on our next Hangout. So I do this every Thursday night and I'm going to go ahead and show you at the same time, show you where you can register. So you can join me if you're watching on YouTube right now or G+. In order to register for the weekly Hangouts, you can join me at wisewealthuniversity.com/hangouts. And if you want to get updates on when we do the webinars, you can follow me at Pink Professor on Twitter. And let me go back to my regular lower third there. So I want to thank you all for being on the show tonight. Let's just check that, the ebook. All right, so you can click on that and get the ebook. It doesn't take that long to read. I think it's like 20 pages. And then you'll get probably 4 emails on your course, and that will remind you how to take the steps that are in the ebook so that you can find your own private lenders. I've been very successful with doing it this way, and I really enjoy having my properties and having the private lenders working with me. And I'm so happy when they get paid and get money out of the deals that I work hard on. So go ahead and develop your own private lenders. That's the best way to fund your deals. I've showed you 8 other ways besides that one, but definitely find your own private lenders. So go ahead and get the ebook. So I've got a couple of interviews lined up for you in the next couple of weeks. So look forward to that. We're also going to be playing a private lending game on Facebook, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that next week. But you can join the Facebook group for free, and we're going to be experimenting with what it's like to have private lending and private money coming in and what kind of deals you would do if you had private lenders lending you money. So that game really changes your mindset. I'm partnering up with another friend who used to be a trainer for Jack Canfield, and he and I are going to run that game for you. Coming up also, I'm going to do a picture contest. So the first contest is going to be rehab properties, the worst rehab property you've ever seen. So you don't have to have bought it, but you had to take the picture. You cannot get these off the internet. So it has to be a picture of a property that you walked through, took the picture with your own camera, and you're going to submit that. We're going to have a prize for the worst picture. The second picture contest after that is going to be the worst rental picture. In other words, this is what your property looked like after your tenant moved out. So it can't be one that, because sometimes the worst ones are when you buy the property. But if you already owned it and it was a rental and then someone moved out and completely trashed it, submit those pictures. And I'm going to be sending out some links and let you know on my Wise Wealth University website, as well as on Facebook or G+. I'll be posting that at Wise Wealth University and let you know where you can send the pictures to me so you can be part of the photo contest. So remember, the worst rehab that you ever saw, and then the worst rental move out that you ever had. Start gathering your pictures, and we're going to have some great prizes that you can win for submitting the best picture. So anyway, go ahead and get the private lending book. It's over, am I pointing the right way? It's over this way on the side if you're watching the replay. So I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. I'm so glad when you come and listen to the show. Again, we are on Wise Wealth University on YouTube, and you can watch the replays there. There's a complete playlist. You can also watch replays on Wise Wealth University. If you go to my blog, you'll see all the replays posted there. And as I'm getting them transcribed, you can actually read the transcription if you want to read really fast and not listen to the video. So I'm getting those up there on my website, wisewealthuniversity.com. Thank you all for coming tonight. I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you next Thursday. I'm going to go ahead and play my closing video as I sign out here. Of course, I've got to load it up again. All right, so here we go. Good night, everyone.